We come now to a very modern ache, yet it is as old as the human heart, the door we keep watching. In this age, it wears new names: ghosting, cut-offs, the text that never arrives, the friend who vanishes without conversation, the family distance that settles like a fog over holidays, no explanation, no repair, no closure. And yet the mind stands at that door as if a sentinel assigned by pain. Perhaps today they will say, "I'm sorry." Perhaps today the bell will ring. We have been trained to believe that their apology is the key to our peace. We have been trained to wait at the threshold of another's lips. But that is not quite true if you understand the nature of peace. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Not as the world giveth, there it is, the correction and the release. Peace is not located in another's mouth. Peace is not postponed by another's silence. Now, of course, the mind does what the mind does. We replay the offense, we turn it like a stone in the hand. Weeks pass, and then years, and the scene is still vivid. Do not condemn yourself for that. You are not evil. You are attempting to complete an unfinished story. The psyche seeks a final chapter, a verdict, a sentence that closes the book. But the soul is taught another way. The soul is told, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee." Not stayed on the door, not stayed on their maturity or immaturity, stayed on thee. That is the beginning of our healing. The gentle discovery that the door we watch has no jurisdiction over the kingdom within. We must say this plainly, because it will save us time and tears. Their apology is not the key to our peace. Waiting for it keeps us bound at the door. Every hour spent scanning that threshold is an hour in which we withhold ourselves from the secret place. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Abide, do you hear how different that is from watching? Abiding is present, watching is postponed. Abiding is resting in what is. Watching is bargaining with what may never come. Someone says, "But they owe me." Well, of course, in the courts of men, perhaps there is a debt, but we are not healed in the courts of men. We are healed when our treasure is restored to its rightful place. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. If my treasure is located in an apology, then my heart is confined to a hallway, narrow, anxious, dependent. If my treasure is God, then my heart is in a pasture wide, quiet, sufficient, and we must choose our pasture daily. Let us be tender with ourselves. We are the ones who have suffered the delay, and we are the ones who can begin the release without waiting on anyone's maturity. Be not afraid. God is. Say it softly when the door tempts you. God is. Ask the simple spiritual question that governs this whole hour. If God is present, where can closure be missing? And if closure seems missing, what have we made our God? Is it the bell that has not rung? Is it the sentence that has not been spoken? Have we, without intending to, exalted the absence of words into a power? There are not two powers in this world as there seems to be. There is not the power of God and the power of their apology. There is only God. It isn't that God must compel them to speak for you to be free. It is that silence itself has no power to withhold the peace already given. My peace I give unto you. Not next week, not when they call, now. In other words, the story doesn't need their period to end. It needs your presence to begin. So we turn gently but firmly from the door to the Father's house within. We loosen our grip on the knocker, and we take up the key we already have, a heart stayed on God. And as we do, the hallway grows dim, and the dwelling place brightens, and the mind, no longer a sentinel, becomes a sanctuary. Now we come to the subtlety that keeps the hallway furnished and our chair set by the jamb. The belief in two powers. We do not say it aloud. A few of us would stand in a church and declare, "There is God, and there is the offense." But inwardly we often live as if it were so. We assign to a silence, to a text that never came, to a betrayal long past, a capacity to govern our present peace. And the first commandment reaches us with a gentle clarity: "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Do you see what that means in the language of this hour? It means we are not to enthrone the offense as a second power beside God. Now, if God is the only power, what is the power of a sentence withheld, of an omission, of the moment your phone stayed dark? Does a collection of pixels, a lapse of courage in another, possess creative force? "Thou couldst have no power over me unless it were given thee from above." If the Master could say this before Rome, can we not whisper it before a memory? If there is one power, what remains for the other to do except to bark at the gate until we open to it? And why do we open? Because we believe it has authority to bite. That is all. The teeth are our consent. Well, of course, someone will object. Are you excusing wrongdoing? No. In the courts of men there may be reckoning, and sometimes we must take steps, set boundaries, change locks, move our feet, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. But this is not a court, this is the sanctuary. Here we are not pondering penalties. We are refusing to pay spiritual rent to a false power. We are not calling darkness light. We are discovering that darkness has no jurisdiction in a life stayed on God. "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper." Not because the weapon is repaired into a flower, but because it lacks the power to touch the secret place in which you dwell. We must become very simple in our practice. The moment the replay starts, the moment the chest tightens and the case resumes, jury, judge, witness, all in one. Do not argue. Do not embellish the story. Do not diagnose the offender. Withdraw consent. How? With a government of consciousness, not a poem. Be not afraid. God is, not as a slogan, please hear this, but as law, as inner authority, as the scepter in your own heart. Be not afraid. God is. Say it once for the thought, once for the feeling, once for the body, and then abide a moment. Let the words do what words from the Spirit always do. They still the sea. In other words, we are not going to be free by sharpening our analysis of personalities. It is what we do with the principle that will produce the change. Each time the image appears, you and I have a choice that appears small but is actually royal, to believe in two powers or to rest in one. If we believe in two powers, we hand the keys of our inner government to yesterday. If we rest in one, we find that yesterday cannot enter the present without our permission. "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Under a shadow, you are cool though the sun burns elsewhere. Under that shadow, the flame of offense cannot kindle. So, remember this. The offense has no power in itself. It borrows voice from our attention. It borrows throne from our fear. Withdraw the loan. Let the maxim be your quiet refusal at the gate. Be not afraid. God is. And as you hold to that, not combatively, but as one who knows where the light switch is, you will see that what frightened you was a shape on the wall made by a coat on a chair. The room is not changed. You have turned on the lamp. There are not two powers. God is the only power. And in that realization, the hallway loses its magnet, the door loses its drama, and the heart begins to enjoy again its own government peace, not as the world giveth, but as is given eternally of God. Now, if we are not to argue with the mind, where shall we stand? The Master gives us a place, not imaginary, but actual in consciousness. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. That is the secret place. Not a geography, but a government within. The mind can argue with ideas, it cannot argue with presence. Words on a page can be debated. The word abiding in us cannot be cross-examined. So our method is not to think our way through the replay, but to dwell until the replay meets silence and yields. What does this look like at a desk, in a car, lying awake at 2 in the morning? Very simple, very available, very near. The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. When the scene arises, first we stop, not the clock, not the responsibility before us, but the inward rush. Stop. Then we soften the shoulders, the jaw, the grip on the tail. Then we breathe one conscious breath, as if we are laying our head upon green pastures. And then, not with effort, but with consent, we acknowledge inwardly, God is here. God is my life. God is my peace, not as a charm, not to force a result, but as recognition. Be still and know that I am God. Do you notice the difference between thinking about God and letting the Word abide in us? Thinking about God is like looking at a well from a distance and describing its depth. Letting the Word abide is drawing living water. Thinking analyzes, abiding drinks. Abiding is not a push, it is a yielding. Abide in me, and I in you, for without me ye can do nothing. Without this inner union, we can do many things, outwardly, type, talk, drive, but we cannot bring forth peace. With it, the same motions are transfigured. Driving becomes prayer. Typing becomes studying. Even the midnight wakefulness becomes a sanctuary where the lamp never goes out. Now, of course, at first, the mind will do what minds do. It will circle. It will object. It will say, yes, but that is all right. We are not wrestling. We are resting. We are not imposing quiet on the mind. We are consenting to the presence that by its nature stills the sea. My peace I give unto you. Our part is receptivity. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. You and I need only make ourselves available by dwelling, returning, lingering even for 10 seconds at a time until the replay touches a love that has no interest in verdicts. So with us it is in proportion that we dwell in God that fruit appears, calm, clarity, even right words spoken at the right time if they must be spoken. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Under that shadow the story may pass by like weather, but it does not enter the house. And if it seems to slip in again, we do not condemn ourselves. We simply return, stop, soften, breathe. God is here. God is my life. God is my peace. In that very motion, we have already turned from 2 powers to 1. Someone says, but I did this yesterday and the storm returned today. Well, of course, weather returns. We are not mastering the sky. We are discovering a shelter. Faithfulness, not parade ground perfection. In other words, we do not measure the practice by whether the wind visits, but by how swiftly we remember the door to the inner room. In time, and almost without noticing, the intervals of peace lengthen, the taste for abiding sweetens, and the mind, once so determined to argue the case, finds nothing to push against. In Him we live and move and have our being. That is the secret place. Not a thought held hard, but a life held gently in God. And in that gentle holding, the replay loses its courtroom. The gavel falls silent, and the soul, now steady, walks on. From that inner room, another door opens, and it does not look outward, it looks Godward. Forgiveness, not a social handshake, not a contract ratified by 2 signatures, but a law of God, a quality of the divine life itself flowing as love, as release, as freedom. Forgiveness is not a favor we grant to someone who deserves it. Forgiveness is what happens when the channel is cleared so that grace can run without obstruction. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do you hear the law in that? Not punishment, not bargain, but law. The measure we meet becomes the measure that flows through us. By withholding forgiveness, we are not jailing them, we are crimping the hose in our own garden. Now, of course, some will say, if I forgive, I am saying it didn't matter. That is not quite true if you understand the nature of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not say it didn't matter. It says, I will not enthrone it. Forgiveness does not return you to harm. It does not ask you to erase wisdom. You can forgive and maintain a boundary. You can forgive and keep your distance. Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Locks, safety, wise limits. But in the sanctuary, we render to God the things that are God's, the government of the heart. Forgiveness is simply this. We release the claim that our life depends on their repentance. We refuse to hang our peace on their maturity. We take the soul off their hook and return it to the Father's hand. The Master gives us the pattern, and he gives it when there is no apology in sight. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. He does not wait for Rome to repent or for a council to vote. He opens the channel Godward, and at once the flow resumes. That is our model. Forgiveness is prayer before God. It is a turning that does not require their participation to begin healing. And why they know not what they do, because so often it is literally so. Men and women act from fear, from lack, from pride, from the residue of wounds that never found light, from ignorance. These have no authority in God. They are not second gods. They are shadows mistaken for substance. To see that is not to excuse harm. It is to refuse to grant ignorance a throne. Remember, there are not two powers in this world as there seems to be. There is not the power of God and the power of their offense. There is only God. When we hold another in the court of our mind and rehearse the indictment, we are secretly declaring that the offense has jurisdiction. And then comes the hidden cost. By not cleansing ourselves of these emotions, we withhold forgiveness. And by withholding forgiveness, we are withholding the love of God in our own consciousness. The river is dammed upstream of our own field. Health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, peace. These are the fruits of unblocked love. The law is impersonal. As we forgive, the channel opens. As we bind, we are bound. Someone says, but they have not repaired the breach. Well, of course, perhaps they never will. We are not waiting. Forgiveness is an inner act before God, and we can begin it now. How? Very simply, very quietly, the way of the secret place. When the scene arises, stop, soften, breathe, and inwardly acknowledge, not to them, but to God, Father, I release this into thy keeping. I release them from my judgment. I release myself from this chain. Thou art my life. Thou art my peace. We do not argue a case. We surrender a claim. In that surrender, the presence moves. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Not because the universe is tallying points, but because consciousness is law. You cannot keep condemnation in your breast without breathing it. You cannot open a window for love to one and shut it to another. The air will fill the whole house. This is the turning point. We do not forgive to let someone off easily. We forgive to come home. We forgive because we refuse to let yesterday govern today's government of peace. We forgive because our soul belongs to God, not to a verdict. And as we do quietly, sincerely, perhaps often the replay loses authority. The gavel grows heavy in our hand, and love, which is not sentiment but law, flows again. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, not as apology delays it, as God gives now. Be not afraid, God is. There are hours when honesty is the only door into grace. We speak so much of forgiveness that some of us have tried to manufacture it like a product on demand and then wondered why the soul did not heal. Let us be very gentle here and very clear. There are injuries that our present capacity cannot forgive on command, and pretense will only divide us further. Surely thou desirest truth in the inward parts. If the inward part says, I cannot, we do not rebuke it into performance. We bring that inability into the light. This is not failure, this is humility. And humility in the spiritual life is not collapse, it is consent. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. Now, what do we do when forgiveness will not come? We do what the Master showed us on the darkest afternoon the world has ever staged. He did not marshal willpower. He turned Godward. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Do you see the pattern? Father, forgive. Not I, by force of virtue. Father, the direction of the act is Godward, and the channel is a transparency. So we learn a private liturgy for such hours, not for repetition as magic, but as willingness. Father, I cannot forgive this yet. Forgive through me. Cleanse me of resentment, fear, and the need to be right. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Say it as you are, not as you think a saint should be. Say it softly, even if the hand trembles, and then abide. 10 seconds will do it first. Be still and know that I am God. We are not working on them. We are consenting to be worked on. We are not adjusting a memory. We are yielding a heart. In that consent, something begins that no human psychology can fully diagram. The inner water's clear. The picture remains, but the charge loosens. The form is there, but the current no longer runs through it. The offense becomes a photograph in an album, perhaps still with sorrow, but without governance. He restoreth my soul, not they, he. I knew a man well, of course, like many of us, whose business partner betrayed him. Contracts were kept and lawyers engaged, that is Caesar's side. But in the night, the mind would rehearse until dawn. He tried to will forgiveness and only grew more hardened. One evening, exhausted, he said simply, Father, I cannot forgive this yet. Forgive through me. Nothing dramatic occurred, no lights, no voices, but he noticed that the next replay had less heat. He said it again the next morning, and again when the letter arrived, and again when he signed the final paper. Weeks later, he discovered, almost with surprise, that the story could pass before him like weather. Boundary remained. Bitterness did not. This is not personality improvement. This is transparency. Truth had found a window. Why does this work? Because forgiveness is one of those qualities of God. And when we cease trying to manufacture it and instead offer ourselves as a place for it to flow, the law operates. By not cleansing ourselves of resentment and fear, we crimp the hose. By consenting, we remove the kink. As the heart is cleansed, the mind loses its accuser. Cleanse thou me from secret faults, the psalmist prays. Not faults out there, the secret ones, our clinging to verdict, our fear that if we release we will be unsafe, our need to be right. This prayer names them without shame and lays them on the altar. Cleanse me, resentment, fear, the need to be right. And what occurs? Not an amnesia, but a shift of government. Peace moves back to the throne. The memory is disarmed. Someone will ask, must I tell them I have done this? No. Go and tell no man. Keep it locked up within you. This is not a performance for social media or a badge for our ego. It is holy work, quiet work, secret place work. We do not announce it, we practice it. In the first 10 seconds of the replay, we stop, we soften, we breathe, and we turn. Father, I cannot forgive this yet. Forgive through me. Cleanse me of resentment, fear, and the need to be right. Be not afraid. God is. Then we rest those few moments until the sea responds to the presence that still sees. And if tomorrow the ache returns, well, of course, then the liturgy returns. We are not failing, we are being faithful. Each time a little more of the root lifts. Looking diligently, lest any root of bitterness spring up and trouble you, we look diligently, and we offer it up in time, and it may be sooner than you think. The words are no longer a plea, but a recognition. The forgiveness is not coming from us at all. It is passing through us. That is our safety. That is our freedom. There are not two powers here, the offense and God. There is one. When forgiveness feels impossible, we can still live under the one by letting the Father forgive through us. And in that letting, the inner court quiets without a verdict. The gavel is laid down, and peace, not as the world giveth, resumes its government. Be not afraid, God is. Now we must look at a root that hides under many noble words and keeps the bruise tender, the need to be right. Not merely that justice be done in the world of forms, contracts honored, locks changed, truth told when truth must be told, but that we be vindicated in their eyes, that the light go on in their mind and they say, you were right. Well, of course, the human longs for it. It imagines that such a moment would pour balm on the ache. But let us ask in the quiet, what are we protecting? Truth or ego? Peace or a verdict? And what has this verdict cost us in hours of life? How many dawns have we tithed to an inner courtroom? What shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world of rightness and lose his own soul of peace? Do you see how subtle the chain is? Rightness offers itself as closure, but it is a counterfeit coin. It promises rest and pays an agitation. It offers freedom and slips on a shackle. Why? Because to maintain rightness as our Savior, we must keep the other present in our consciousness. We keep them seated on the witness stand. We keep ourselves as judge and jury, and the trial cannot end because the witness refuses to appear. In this way, we remain married to the offense, not by love, but by litigation. The Master, seeing this tendency in all of us, offered a strange counsel. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, not to condone injustice, but to lay down the inner spear that keeps us bound to argument. Blessed are the peacemakers, not the victory takers, the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So we come to a practice as simple as it is liberating. When the case rises, when the body prepares its evidence, and the lips rehearse the cross-examination, we stop, we soften, we breathe. And then, in the sanctuary of the heart, we say, I yield my case. I surrender the court in my mind. I let divine law be law. Father, unto thee I commit this judgment. Bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. We are not abandoning wisdom. We are ending warfare. We are not making wrong right. We are refusing to enthrone the courtroom as our temple. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. Leave it there. Let law be impersonal, universal, exact. Let conscience be clean. Someone will ask, if I release the case, will I be safe? Here the one we have been learning to trust. There are not two powers in this world as there seems to be. There is not the power of God and the power of a human verdict. Your safety does not depend upon winning an argument with someone who will not show up. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold your peace. That is your assignment. Render to Caesar what protects the body boundaries, locks wisdom, but render to God the government of your inner court. Withdraw jurisdiction from the need to be right. Return it to the presence, that is rightness itself. What follows may surprise you. Without the trial consuming your hours, space appears, space for quiet, for prayer, for the next right step, if there is one. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. What shall he bring to pass? Sometimes a visible correction, often and sooner an invisible vindication, serenity that does not ask to be seen, a heart so rested that the old bait has no hook. You cannot use truth to prove yourself, but truth can use you to be free. Be not afraid. God is. Let this be our liturgy when the gavel lifts. I yield my case. I surrender the court in my mind. I let divine law be law. Then abide 10 seconds more than yesterday. In time, the habit of judgment loses oxygen. The need to be right loosens its coil, and what remains is governance, not a verdict shouted by men, but a peace kept by God. The chain breaks not with noise, but with consent. The need to be right is a chain. Surrender the inner court, and peace, not as the world giveth, resumes its throne. Be not afraid, God is. We must be very practical now, because you will not be out of this room 5 minutes before the temptation returns, perhaps with a new detail, perhaps with the same old line inviting you to believe again in the offense as a power. This is not a sign of failure. It is the predictable weather of consciousness that has been trained by habit. So we prepare not with argument, but with a liturgy so simple that it can be performed in the space of a breath. The first 10 seconds are our altar. Here is the way. The flashback begins, the chest tightens, the mind starts arranging the furniture of the old scene. In that very instant, how do we pause a story? By turning from pictures to presence, from movie to moment. Feel the body. Notice the soles of the feet, the seat in the chair, the hands where they are. Soften the jaw, drop the shoulders, unclench the belly, let the tongue rest. Breathe once consciously, as if lowering the bucket into a well that never runs dry. In those seconds you have already moved jurisdictions from the court to the secret place. Then, slowly, inwardly, not as a chant to force a result, but as recognition, speak the truth we have been given. Be not afraid. God is. Not quickly, slowly, as if each word is a stone placed across a stream. Be not afraid. God is. And let the echo expand. God is my peace. God is my life. God is the only power. God is here. Again, gently, God is my peace. God is my life. God is the only power. God is here. We are not hypnotizing ourselves. We are acknowledging reality. Be still and know that I am God. Now the mind will offer a bargain. Just let me run the scene once more. Let me improve the speech I didn't give. Do not re-enter the theater. Do not rebuild the scene. Do not rehearse the speech you wish you gave. Do not sharpen the indictment. Do not pose new questions for a witness who will not appear. Turn from imagery to immediacy. Rest again in the body's simple contact with the present, the chair, the breath, the quietly softened hands, and let the words resume their office. Be not afraid. God is. God is my peace. God is my life. God is the only power. God is here. What happens? Not a crash of cymbals, not a trumpet in the air, but an authority older than noise begins to rule. The nervous system, long trained to spring, receives a new command, not from will, but from presence. Peace, be still. and the waves remember their shoreline. The loop, deprived of your attention as fuel, falters. The story, denied the spotlight of your imagination, loses its color. Dominion returns not by force, but by recognition. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, stayed in the first 10 seconds. You can't use truth, but truth can use you, and it will if you give it 10 seconds to take the helm. 10 seconds of pausing the picture, 10 seconds of feeling the body as temple, not tribunal, 10 seconds of the inner creed spoken without strain. Be not afraid. God is. God is my peace. God is my life. God is the only power. God is here. Then resume your task, answer the email, drive the car, fold the laundry, quietly governed not by yesterday's scene, but by today's presence. And if the flashback returns in 15 minutes, well, of course, return with it. The practice is not a wall. It is a door, and we pass through as often as we must. In time, you will find that the first 10 seconds set the tone for the next 10 minutes, the 10 minutes for the hour for the day. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Returning is our way. Rest is our witness. Be not afraid. God is. Having laid down the gavel, the heart asks, where shall I place my eyes? If we are not to scan the doorway for their return, what shall we watch? Here is the gentle correction that has saved many of us from circling the same gate. Our gratitude must be re-educated. Now, of course, we were taught to be grateful when the call comes, when the message appears, when the relationship warms, when the apology finally reaches our shore. But that is gratitude for forms, and forms are weather. They roll in, they roll out. To tie our thanksgiving to their tide is to keep our soul moored to a shifting shore. That is not quite true gratitude, if you understand the nature of spirit. True gratitude is for presence, not for performance. God is spirit, and every good and perfect gift is from above. We are not to be grateful for any form of good, but for the spirit which underlies that form. Gratitude says, not thank you for the text, but thank you for the guidance that led me through the hour quietly. Not thank you that they changed, but thank you that thou changest not. In everything give thanks, not because everything is pleasant, but because in everything the presence abides, the law governs, the shepherd leads. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That is gratitude, the recognition of a government that does not consult the weather vane of human behavior. Do you see what occurs when gratitude turns Godward? The scanning stops. We are no longer standing at the end of the driveway, watching for the silhouette to appear as proof that we are safe. We return to the house within and say, quietly, thank you for peace now. Thank you for the right boundary now. Thank you for the cleansing of this fear now. Thank you for the quiet return of wholeness now. In that thanksgiving, fixation loosens, the pulse slows. The eyes lift not to them, but to the hills, from whence cometh my help. Help does not come from their apology. Help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. Let us be practical. Each day, privately go and tell no man, write or speak a litany that anchors you where no hand can reach. Begin as you are and let it grow. I am grateful for the inner Christ, for peace, for harmony, for wholeness, for completeness, for the government of God within me. I am grateful for guidance, for protection, for cleansing, for light on today's step. I am grateful for health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good. I am grateful that God is my life. God is my peace. God is the only power. God is here. Do not rush it. Place each word like a stone across a stream. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. and into his courts with praise. Thanksgiving is a gate, praise is a court. Walk through slowly. A woman wrote me once, well, of course, she could have been any one of us, saying that she checked her phone each hour for evidence that the world had righted itself. She began this quiet liturgy 3 minutes in the morning, 1 in the midday, 1 before sleep. Nothing in the outer moved at first, but she discovered that the compulsion to check loosened. Then the ache thinned. Then the day contained space again, space for prayer, for work, for laughter that wasn't borrowed from anyone's behavior. Weeks later, when a message finally did arrive, she smiled, grateful not for the message's savior, but for the presence that had already restored her soul. He restoreth my soul, not they. He. Do you notice how forgiveness and gratitude belong together? Forgiveness clears the channel. Gratitude fills it with praise. Forgiveness removes the obstruction. Gratitude lets the water run. By withholding forgiveness, we had crimped the hose. By misdirecting gratitude to forms, we had tied the hose to a moving cart. Now we uncrimp. Now we untie. Now the river flows. There are not two powers here, their behavior and God. There is one. Aim gratitude at the one, and peace anchors where no apology can touch it. So when the flashback tempts you to scan the horizon, return to the secret place and let thanksgiving do its work. Be not afraid. God is. Thank you for peace now. Thank you for guidance now. Thank you for the inner Christ now. In that simple praise, the heart loses interest in closure and gains devotion to presence. And presence, faithful as sunrise, keeps the soul. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, stayed in forgiveness, stayed in gratitude, stayed in God. What does freedom look like when doors remain shut and no trumpet sound from the far country? It looks like this. We are restored, even if the relationship is not. Forgiveness without closure does not always repair the bridge between two shores. It repairs the shore on which we stand. Peace returns, not as a bargain reached with another mind, but as the government of God within our own. Remember this. Peace is an inner government, not a negotiated settlement. The kingdom of God is within you. Our work has never been to force a treaty at the edge of someone else's will, but to enthrone the one within and to live from that throne. Now, of course, someone will say, if I am loving, must I not return? Must I not make contact? That is not quite true if you understand the nature of love. Love is not proximity. Love is the refusal to hate. Love is the refusal to curse. Love is the refusal to carry poison. You can bless and keep distance. You can maintain a wall and have no enmity in your heart. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's, locks, plans, numbers changed, meetings decline, and render to God what is God's, the purity of a heart that holds no malice. Remember the Master's counsel. If a house will not receive your peace, shake off the dust and go on. You are not abandoning love. You are preserving it from being tangled in confusion. How then do we walk this road with a simple inner language that keeps the soul clean in the very moment a boundary is set? When the invitation arrives to step back into a pattern you have left, when the eyes that once accused now plead without repentance, quietly say within, I bless you, I release you, I do not join you in confusion, I abide in God, not loudly, not performatively, inwardly, where law is law. I bless you so no curse takes root in my garden. I release you so no chain binds us to yesterday. I do not join you in confusion, so I refuse to accept delusions as authority. I abide in God, so the one power, and not 1,000 appearances, governs my next step. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, and let the heart speak these 4 lines as the gate you pass through. This is not spiritual bypass, this is spiritual dominion. Bypass is a coat of paint overwrought. Dominion is the sap rising from the root. When we set a boundary from fear, the body knows it and trembles. When we set a boundary from God, the soul knows it and rests. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He leadeth. If the leading is to speak, we speak. If the leading is to be silent, we are silent. If the leading is to return, we return under wisdom. If the leading is to keep distance, we keep distance under grace. At no point do we enthrone their conduct as a power. At every point we confess the one, thou couldst have no power over me unless it came from the Father in heaven. There are not two powers here. They're pull and God. There is one. I knew a mother well, of course, like many of us whose grown child, bound by substances and storms, turned every visit into a courtroom. She mistook love for constant presence and suffered for it until she learned this quieter form. She blessed him daily, released him hourly, refused invitations to new quarrels, and abided in God moment by moment. Love did not shrink. It clarified. She sent meals through another hand. She answered few calls, and those with yes or no. And in the night when the ache came, she spoke the liturgy. I bless you, I release you, I do not join you in confusion, I abide in God. Peace returned, not because he changed that month, but because her government changed that day. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. The table stood in her. The presence of turmoil did not remove it. So with us, love without contact is not indifference. It is holiness. It is the garden kept when a wild fire rages in the hills. It is the lamp trimmed and burning while the storm passes outside. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep it when you decline the lunch. Keep it when you let the call pass. Keep it when you answer briefly without venom. Bless, release, refuse, confusion, abide, and then get on with the life God is living as you work to do, bread to break, prayer to pray, hands to help, songs to sing. You will find that such freedom has a fragrance, quiet, steady, unprovoked. The old bait dangles, but the hook is gone. The replay approaches, but lacks jurisdiction. You are not hard, you are governed. You are not cold, you are kept. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold your peace. Hold it when the door knocks, when the text lights, when nostalgia rises like mist. Be not afraid. God is. And because God is, you may keep wise boundaries without bitterness, and you may love without contact, living not by reaction to appearances, but by the inner government that cannot be shaken. Now we make our covenant with practice, not a public vow, not a spectacle, but a private experiment between your soul and God. For 30 days, quietly, faithfully embark on a program of daily forgiveness and daily gratitude. Do it not to change them. Do it to place your inner government where it belongs. Prove me now herewith, says the prophet. Prove the law, not by argument, but by doing. You will find a change in your life in 30 days, less than 30 days, if you abide in this simple order. Morning. Before you open the window of the world, before you consult the phone, the news, the memory sit, feel the weight of the body as temple, not tribunal. Turn within to the secret place. If you like, let Psalm 91 pass softly through you. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Then speak without strain these recognitions. God is. God is my life. God is my peace. God is the only power. God is here. Let them settle like dew. Next, forgiveness. Quiet, honest, Godward. Father, if I hold anyone in grievance, forgive through me. Cleanse me of resentment, fear, and the need to be right. Name no case aloud or for the whole court. Then gratitude not for outcomes, but for spirit. Thank you for guidance, for governance, for health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good. Thank you that thou changest not. 3 minutes will do. 5. If grace holds you, thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Midday. When the trigger appears, and it will keep the first 10 seconds as holy ground, pause the picture. Feel the soles, the seat, the hands. Soften. Breathe once. Then let the inner creed take the helm. Be not afraid. God is. God is my peace. God is my life. God is the only power. God is here. Refuse the replay. It's theater. Do not re-enter the scene. 10 seconds of obedience to one power will turn a tide that hours of debate could not move. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. Stayed for 10 seconds, again and again. Evening. Close the day by closing the court. Review, not as prosecutor, but as priest. If a face rises, place it on the altar. Father, forgive through me. I bless, I release, I do not join confusion, I abide in God. Surrender any verdict you have been sharpening. I yield my case. I let divine law be law. Then give thanks once more to Spirit for the governance of this very day, its mercies, its corrections, its quiet helps. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Now a word of guidance that will save you detours. Go and tell no man. Keep this experiment inward. Do not seek applause or proof. Do not check the horizon each evening for a sign. Let the transformation be between you and God. Remember, you can't use truth, but truth can use you. It will, if you give it this sanctuary of silence. Measure nothing by their behavior. Measure by this. The memory may return, but it returns with less authority. We do not count forgetting a success, we count governance. Are you less moved by the bait? Does peace resume its seat more quickly? That is dominion reestablished. Someone will say, what if I miss a day? Begin again in the morning. This is not a contest of willpower, it is a consent renewed. His mercies are new every morning. Another will ask, what will change? Inwardly first, always. The compulsion to scan will loosen. The courtroom will quiet. Space will reappear for work, prayer, and the ordinary sacraments of your life. And then, as often happens, the outer will find its ordered place without your policing it. But whether or not it does this month, peace is not postponed. Peace is presence, governed by one. Hold these maxims as you walk. God is. There are not two powers. Forgiveness opens the channel. Gratitude fills it. Peace is not postponed. Keep the morning abiding, the midday 10 seconds, the evening release for 30 days, quietly, faithfully. In less than that time, you will discover that your soul has moved out of the anteroom of someone else's apology and into the sanctuary where the shepherd keeps his own. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it. Be not afraid. God is